Hi, I'm Jules from the Gentle Life podcast, and I'd like to share with you today some of my fabric needle books that I have made during the last year or two. They have actually added up. This is just a few of them. I won't show them all to you today, otherwise I'd be here all day and you wouldn't want that either. So I thought I'd just show you two or three maybe and stop there, and then maybe if you like what you see, I'll make another video of a few more that I have that's in a little box right behind me. So this is quite a small one in comparison to some of them. It started off as a piece of wadding, which I then edged with a bit of binding, and then I decided to slow stitch, which is one of my favorite occupations at the moment, as I have lots of bits of scrappy fabrics, as we all do, I'm sure, and I thought I'd see what I can make of it, and this is the result. What I like with slow stitching is that it's never really finished, and it doesn't have to be perfect. This is exactly what I like. So it's about 4 or 5 inches. So say piece of wadding, piece of batting, just cover it with a piece of binding. I then decided to add fabrics one on top of the other using running stitch, which is one of the favorite stitches. It's lovely to see grow and grow, especially when you've got the lines. I hope the sun isn't too bright coming through my lovely window. It's a bit of a cold day here in the UK in January, but the sun is shining, so can't complain. So if I open it out, here we go, piece of pink, piece of lace fabric, bit of bar cloth by there. I sewed a Suffolk punch on the front and turned it over. It's not exactly finished, but then, as I said, slow stitch never is. There we go. I've added, excuse me, a little vintage button. And then I found some extra pieces in my scrappy box, and I thought I would just add those. So this piece, it's just a piece of fabric, yet again with all the edges turned in, and I used a pearl thread of variegated colours, just carried on around the edge and then straight up and down on a little vintage scrappy piece there. I think that might go there, but then it might not. And there we go. I found some other pieces. This fascinates me actually. This is obviously a sample piece of Sanderson fabric from many years ago. You've got a tiny little Suffolk punch with a linen button there, maybe. So obviously the sample contains the fabric, who made it, and it's attached with a beautiful little button. The back is as pretty as the front, so that pop that in there. I then found a piece of bar cloth, beautiful, beautiful. Was it a curtain, I wonder? Beautiful, lovely red colour on there, and the pink. Oh, it's gorgeous. So I could tack them in. The moment they're just placed in. I'm quite happy with that. And then lastly, I've added a little floral vintage fabric there. So as I say, it's never finished. That's where we are at the moment. I'll just show you one more and we'll call it a day today. So this one is slightly bigger than the last one, obviously. There we go. Again, I'll open it out. It's a piece of vintage cotton, very tightly woven, quite hard to sew through. Looks fabulous, but you're not sewing through linen, you're sewing through a tightly woven cotton. This was something that someone must have bought abroad. Came in a little packet, like a little doily. There was a blue one and a yellow one, and I've still got those. So I sewed that on the back together with a vintage button. Edged it with my favourite running stitch. Piece of lace, which I added on the front. If I turn it over, so we close it up. That's the edge. Open it out. Thick piece of felt, probably, or maybe it was a piece of blanket, I think, actually. 2 vintage buttons. There we are, we've got 2 scrappy pieces. Self-explanatory, really. This is a piece of old woolen blanket, I know that for sure. Pop your needles in. Piece of pink fabric, which turned into a little pocket. And some lovely tape. I've got quite a few of these with letters on and numbers. That's obviously a number 5. And we turn it over. Yeah. I love it. I really do. And okay, I was going to call it a day, but I'll just quickly show you a little bit of the log cabin again on the very tight cotton. Quite hard to sew through. But there we go, we managed it. That's the front, that's the back. A little bit of French fabric, French general fabric there, which is one of my favourites. My favourite to use. So running stitch all the way around. And then we've put a little bit of binding on there. This is bigger than the last 2. There we go. Piece of, there we go. There we are. I'll show you that maybe in the next one, which should be probably in a few days. I'll go through that in more detail. I just needed to show you that. It's one of my favourites. I love log cabin blocks or courthouse steps. This is log cabin and it's hand stitched. I hope you enjoyed that little snippet of what's on my table at the moment. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Obviously, if you like it, subscribe and like. It does help to grow my channel. Have a good day. And thanks very much for listening and watching.